Saisha, this one is on, like you are already, like you've already shared with us, it's on financial literacy. What role does financial literacy play in determining whether a business succeeds or fails?
Well, you've raised a question that's very pertinent to my heart, and I think one of the conversations I have on a daily is about money matters, and people learning how to be disciplined when it comes to managing their money. So, and this cuts across from personal finances to organization to a business, right? I mean, let me just ask you a simple question. If you were to ride a bicycle, right? And it didn't have both the wheels, what would you do? How would you ride it?
I wouldn't ride it, because since the wheels are the ones that help it move, I don't think I would be able to ride it.
Yeah. So similarly, at some point, much as you have all the passion, you have everything in place, you're going to need to pay for certain services, and that requires money, right? And while you're at it, investing a little bit, and when your business starts making money, we kind of tend to get a bit excited, and before you know it, somebody's already changing their lifestyle. They want to have a Range Rover, the new iPhone, the most expensive perfume, and yet you have to kind of strike a balance to understand that you need to separate yourself from the business. Yes. And what we fail at most times is, because you're the boss, you kind of think the business is you and you're the business. So you keep draining from the business. And then when you realize, because spending, I don't even say it's the most exciting thing to do, because I always tell people to spend cautiously. But if today you were given an ATM card and you were told to swipe and buy whatever you felt like, it's such a priceless feeling, right? And everybody at some point it's okay to gift yourself, or have some time for yourself while appreciating your hard work. However, sometimes we go beyond the limits to kind of want to fit either in society, or want to kind of to prove to people that you've started making some money. And yet it's at the expense of that you now start draining the business, and before you know it, you're going to find yourself in a financial trap. So very, very key is, how do you manage your money, however small it is? Take an example. If you're making your sales have increased from, let's say, 2 million a month to about 5 million, right? Do not quickly jump into saying, oh, since I'm the boss, I'm going to pay myself 2 million, and now I need to move into a new house. Be cautious about your inflows and your outflows. Be cautious about where your money is going and what you're spending on it. Let's say you're renting an office space. What would be the long-term strategy for your office? Is it to buy a permanent space, or do you want to keep renting? Now that is going to be determined on how well you're managing money. Well, just because you're making a few more shillings doesn't mean you need to now buy, let's say you had a van at the organization, and now you're like, oh, we've gotten a few more money, so we need 4 more cars. For what purpose? So make sure it's relevant. Do not learn how to differentiate between the needs and the wants. And we've seen that changing during this pandemic. People who used to eat out at restaurants every single day are now thinking twice and saying, how do I cut down costs? So you realize that this pandemic has kind of put people in a box of, I need to spend cautiously. I don't know, what tomorrow holds. And yet before, like we were all saying, you only live once and stuff like that. But that mantra is not going to go on for a long time. So you need to work on yourself first, on your personal finances. Sit down, and just the way you walk into a health center to do health checks, how often do you do financial checks on yourself? Not quite often. So it's very important to have an informed perspective on what you spend on and what your income flows are, and how you can cut down costs to keep in business. So financial literacy is very, very crucial for any business, for any individual, family level, be it anywhere. You need to be cautious, and you need to, have the mentality of how do I grow my portfolio when it comes to my savings, my investments, my, retirement. I mean, I'll just give you a small example. When I started tracking my expenses, I nearly got a shock of my life. Like the first 2 weeks, I was like, okay, how am I spending all this money on these things that are not quite relevant? And I'm not saying you don't have to, look good, you don't have to smell good, you don't have to eat at a good restaurant, do all that, but calculatively, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I realized, my saving portfolio, my assets are shaky. So when is the reality going to come in? Am I going to get most people say, when I get a higher salary is when I'll start thinking of all these things. But I mean, I'm 26 right now. I'm already planning for my retirement and, trying to see how do I get things in order. Because the more you procrastinate, the more responsibilities come about, the more, emergencies come about. Just like you've seen during this pandemic, people have used up their capital, used up their business, they don't have different streams of income, and we've seen things closing up. Yet before we'd be like, oh, there's always a way out. Some people think they'll win a lottery, some people think they'll, take on from their parents who pass on. But the reality is you need really, really, really need to work on your finances as a person, and that will then drive you to your organization. And I'm not saying become the accountant and auditor for your organization, but at least as a leader, you need to have that thought process of what do you want your organization to look like. And it's okay to start small. Do not try to, impress people or whatever it is at, what assets you have. Start small, calculatively, and from then you will definitely grow.
Yeah. Wow. So, for anyone wanting to start up a business, please be cautious with your finances, with your money. Learn how to spend it wisely. Like she says, plan accordingly. Where do you want to spend it? If you spend it here, is it going to maybe come back? So the way you cash out and the way you bring in money, please also look at that, and you will eventually see the outcomes of you managing your finances very well.